get started just shortly. We're going to start with worship. If you didn't get a chance to get a cup of tea or coffee, I think there's going to be decaf and caffeinated, so help yourself to that. And at the end, we will have snacks. Thank you. Please stand and join us for worship.
Come, all you who are weary and thirsty. Come, be led beside quiet waters, and be brought into a spacious place, and come find refreshment for your soul. Take me to your oasis. I'm longing for refreshment. We're not meant to be alone. We're longing for your presence. So come pour your living water. Come pour your Holy Spirit upon us. Come, all you who are prone to wander. Come, be led back to the arms of the Father. And recall the steady place of grace. So sufficient, so we lift our praise. Yeah, yeah. So take me to your oasis. I'm longing for refreshment. We're not meant to be alone. We're longing for your presence. So come pour your living water. Come pour your Holy Spirit upon us. Oh. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, I choose to remember even when I don't feel, even when I don't see. Yeah. Hallelujah, I'll choose to praise you even when my circumstances overwhelm me. Hallelujah, I'll choose to remember even when I don't feel, even when I don't see. Yeah. Hallelujah, I'll choose to praise you even when my circumstances overwhelm me. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Thank you for your oasis. Hallelujah.
God makes beautiful things. He makes us beautiful.
All this pain, I wonder if I'll ever find my way. I wonder if my life could really change at all.
Jesus is our waymaker. We can depend on him for anything. He'll be with us through the hard stuff.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. And you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. And you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. Jesus, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 That is who you are.
And we continually look for the goodness of God to be in our hearts.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire and the darkest nights. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. Yeah. And all my life you have been faithful. Oh. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna sing. Oh, 'cause all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. With every breath, over all my days.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. It's good to see all of you here on this special night. And I've been really looking forward to this because I have admired our speaker for a very long time. And now she's going to be here telling her story. But most importantly, I think we're all here with fellowship. You know, I think that sometimes we get so wrapped up in, is it a good topic? Is it a good thing? Is it a good night? Is it this, whatever? And we forget about the fellowship, about being with other women and being together and coming together and having time together. So it's great to be here with all of you. We are going to have prayer time after Ursula speaks, and so there will be 2 prayer teams on either side here if you'd like to have prayer. And then we're going to do the fellowship after. We're going to try something a little bit different this time. I'm going to do the little housekeeping things, the restrooms. Okay, they're right over there where it says restrooms, and then upstairs if there's too many people in there, and then there's some more down the hall over there. And just want to let you all know where those are. There are resources available on the table. And index cards. There should be index cards on all of your tables unless I missed them. And if you don't have any index cards, please let me know, and Diane or somebody can get some for you. Everybody have index cards on their tables? No? There's some on other tables. So I just kind of put them all around. So if you can just make sure everybody's got those, because those are going to be used for questions. What we're going to do is, if you think of questions as Ursula is speaking, then you can just write them down. Diane's going to collect them, and then I'll read them. So rather than, the mic goes over here and the mic goes over there, we're just going to make it easy. So just have the questions on a card. And also, if you've got any, thoughts or anything that you can go ahead and put down on there as well. So one more thing. I know when we come to events like this and we listen, and that's a great thing. But sometimes, I'm speaking from my experience, okay, this is what I do. I don't really think about how it applies to me sometimes. It's a great story, and she's wonderful and really good, but how does it apply to me? So we're encouraging all of you, as you're listening to Ursula speak today, think about how it applies to you. And if there's anything that you should start doing, stop doing. Things that just kind of come to you that you're like, wow, I really do need to change that. So the cards are also used for that. Okay. Yep. Yes, thank you. A separate card, because we got to have the questions over here and that, because that'll be for you to take back with you. So, okay. Wonderful. And the last thing is a prayer bowl that we have over on the table. And you can just fill it out. You don't have to put your name. And the ministry team prays for all those requests. So, okay, now we got all the housekeeping stuff done. I'm just going to go real quick to the planning committee. And the reason we're doing this is because we had asked for topics, and a couple of women suggested addiction. And I can think of no better person to talk about that than our speaker tonight. But I just want to real quick talk about addiction, in the sense, as we were talking and getting ready for this, I realized that there are many forms of addiction, right? We always think substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, but there are many forms of addiction. Pornography, gambling, food, sex, sex addiction. There's all kinds of addictions. Ooh, I think I'm cut out there, didn't I? Social media, internet, phones, everything. So I encourage you again, as you're looking through this, because honestly, as I was going through this, I'm like, I have an addiction to playing Words with Friends and Freestyle. And I realized how much time I was spending doing those. So, yeah. Okay, enough about that. We're going to get on to introducing our speaker tonight. As I said, I can think of no better person than Ursula to tell her story and give hope to women dealing with addiction. She is such an inspiration to me. And I teared up as I was talking to her today, because I know enough about her story, but I'm really interested in finding out all the details. But I know enough, and I've seen her transformation, so amazing. She's going to be talking about her journey and what an adventure it has been, and an adventure that she has planned, a couple adventures she has planned. She started her own business, Rose's Cleaning, while farming and raising her grandson, who she is raising because his parents are addicts. And so she's seen it from both sides. I really admire her willingness to talk about the deepest, darkest time of her life, which is extremely difficult to do. She is very involved in the community and has such a passion to help others. She is so encouraging, and she will give you hope no matter what you are facing. Please join me in welcoming Ursula Luttrell.
Okay. Hi. I think pretty much everybody, maybe not everybody, this seems so loud, knows me. But if you haven't known me for 20 years or more, you probably don't know the me that I'm going to talk to you about. A lot of times when people meet me now or have known me for 5 or 10 years and then I tell them about my past, they just can't believe it. But I was a drug addict, or I lived in addiction, I'll just put it that way. Drugs, alcohol. I was not a very nice person. I was in trouble with the law a lot. Yeah, I was pretty wild. But I'm going to tell you how I got from there to here. So when I was about 15 years old, I got into drugs and alcohol, and I went hard. I started drinking, smoking pot, cocaine, yes. Oh, acid, yes. Anything. I shot up heroin when I was 15 years old. I never said no to anything. I don't know if I was trying to be cool or what I was doing, but I never said no. I did all of it. And like Jan had said, addiction doesn't have to be those kind of things. I think probably everyone here has or does struggle with something. So when I'm telling about how I came from there to here, like if you have a food addiction or a sugar addiction, which is something that I'm working on right now, I think that these same things can apply to those situations. And if you're doing something more than you should, like if you're staring at your phone for hours on end a day, it's probably an addiction. And we don't think about it like drugs, but if it's becoming a problem in your life, it's a problem. So, let's see. When I was about 30 years old, that's when I got into methamphetamine, or meth. You've probably heard of it. My whole time of being a drug and alcohol addict, even when I was on meth, most people didn't really know it because I held a job, I paid my bills, I took my kid to school, I had a garden, I did all the normal things, and I did a lot of other things. And I didn't really think that my problem was that bad, even though I knew that I was on drugs and that drugs were bad and drugs were illegal, but I had it under control, you know? And even my alcohol, which I drank a lot, but I didn't drink it every day. I didn't get drunk every time, so I wasn't really an alcoholic, right? But I was, and I did a lot of dangerous stuff when I was drinking. I put myself in a lot of dangerous situations when I was drinking and doing drugs. About 6 years into my meth addiction, my daughter became of age and she moved out. And I was a little bit lost, and I didn't know, like, what am I doing with myself now? Because up until that point, I was, get her graduated, get in college. That was my goal in life. I have to take care of her. And then she moved out, and I'm like, what do I do? So I decided to go and stay with my grandma, because my grandma was the person that I admired the most in my life. If I wanted to be like anyone in the world, it was her. So I thought I'd go and soak some of that up. I stayed with my grandma for a few months, and I was just like trying to get all of the information I could from her about her life and her ancestry, and just be with her because she was wonderful. And then one day she had me call the ambulance because she was having some back pain, and she went to the hospital, and it was like back muscle spasms because she was almost 100 years old, and I guess she had one leg that was shorter than the other, and so she had been compensating for that her whole life. So I'm thinking, no big deal, really. I mean, my grandma at almost 100 years old still kept her house, still cooked for everyone. She was fine. But she wasn't at home, so I didn't stay there. I came back up here, and I went right to my partying friends, and while I was up here, while my grandma was in the hospital, she had a stroke and died. And I wasn't there. And I was devastated. I felt like I really messed up the last moments that I could have spent with her. And I loved her so much. And I thought, if anybody is going to heaven, it's my grandma. And if I ever want to see my grandma again, I need to get my crap together. So I had a little breakdown. I just dropped off the face of the earth. I didn't tell anyone, not even my daughter, where I was going, and I went and stayed at my husband's job. He lived at his job, and I went and stayed there with him. And I was reading the Bible and praying to God, and I was trying to get into heaven. And I stayed there for a couple of months, just whatever, like I said, trying to get into heaven. And then I came back home. And when I came back home, I went right back to my old life. And my old friends, who are all still doing drugs. And I want to say this. If somebody you know has a drug problem, it is not their friend's fault. It is not their girlfriend's or their boyfriend's fault. It is nobody's fault but their own choice. We all make our own choices, and I chose to be in that setting. If you understand cigarette smoking, you're not going to quit smoking cigarette if you're sitting in a room with people smoking cigarettes. You're probably not going to give up the sugar if you have a bunch of it in your cupboards. You have to separate yourself from it. But I didn't. I kept putting myself back in it. And then at the end of every day, I was praying, God, please take this away from me. But then I'd just go right back to it. And that went on for about a year of me begging God to take me away from it, but me still doing it. I still went back to it. I wasn't doing anything. I guess I just expected God to step in and take me away from it, which I think he did. And I kind of think if you keep asking God to change your life and you don't make the changes, he might do something, but you might not like it. And I got arrested. I got arrested and on kind of a minor charge, or what I thought was minor, because I was like a criminal, I guess. It's just a little disturbing, the piece. But I was so mad at the people who were there that allowed me to get arrested because they were my friends. And I was mad at everybody. I was mad at everyone who didn't stick up for me, who didn't go and tell those people what they thought of them for letting me get arrested or for calling the police. I was mad at everyone, so I'm not going to talk to anyone anymore. And I went home after I got out of jail, and I didn't talk to anyone. And I still, all this whole year, I had been talking to God, but I was talking to God. And that summer, so this was in winter, spring, Michigan time. That could be March, April. In the summer, I had bought a bike, and I started riding it. And the very first day that I rode my bike, I rode it into Mayo, and I rode it back, and I live all the way out in Curran. And I was thinking about how I had rode this bike 30 miles to town, 30 miles back. I'm like, I rode 60 miles. And it's not like I just rode it to town. I hadn't rode a bike since I was a kid, so I took a lot of breaks. But I rode 60 miles, and I'm thinking, 60 miles? If I was just riding 60 miles 7 days a week, I'm 420 miles away. I'm out of the state. And I really do think that God put this thought in my head because he knew how it was going to play out. But that day, the first day that I rode the bike, I thought, I'm going to ride this bike to California. And I didn't tell anybody about this because I didn't want to make a fool of myself. I didn't want to say I'm going to ride a bike to California and then not ride a bike to California. So I thought, I'm going to work out. I'm going to ride this bike all summer. I'm going to work out all winter. And then next year, I'm going to ride this bike to California. And I did ride the bike a lot that summer. And I did not work out at all winter. I just laid on the couch. But the next summer, I got the bike back out, and I started riding again. And I rode into town. I went to my friend's house, Kelly's house, and we rode bikes around a little bit. And then I rode back home. And I had a little speedometer, odometer on my bike by now. And when I got home, my husband asked me how far I rode that day. And I said, I rode 70 miles. He's like, wow, you're getting pretty good. I said, now, mind you, I had not told a soul that I wanted to ride my bike to California. I said, yeah, I'm thinking that I'd like to go on a long bike ride. He says, how long? I'm like, really, really long. He goes, I bet you can't make it to California. And I'm like, funny that you picked California, which I know that God put that idea in his head, even though Raymond wasn't talking to God. But God knows that I cannot pass up a dare. So he bet me I couldn't make it to California. And I said, oh, really? Well, I'll leave in 1 month. So Raymond bet me $500 that I couldn't make it to California. And I did leave in 1 month in my little granny bike with the little basket on the front, you know. Been riding a bike a whole year of my adult life, like I knew what I was doing. It was very, very hard. And that whole bike ride story is amazing, but no one has time for that today. So what I want to tell you about is some of the lessons that God taught me on the way. I did not realize when I set out that God took me on that ride, but I did, like towards the end of it, I knew that this was not my idea. I figured that out. Some of the lessons that God taught me on the way, and I think that these can be applied to anyone's life, but especially if you're dealing with a struggle of any kind of addiction. So, first lesson was that I can trust him for all of my needs. And I really do try to practice that. When I would start out my days during that bike ride, I try to practice that now. I didn't know it then. But when I would start out my days, every single day after I would pack up everything on my bike, I would say, God, take me where you want me to go. Show me what you want me to see. Give me what you want me to have. And then I would just ride my bike. And I didn't know where I was going to end up for the night. I'd have an idea. I should be on this road, going in this direction. And I would go until I needed a break or something felt like maybe I should stop at this house and ask, can I pitch my tent here for the night? No one ever said no. No one ever told me no. I just asked people that had never seen me before if I could pitch my tent for the night. And at least half of the time, they didn't let me stay in the tent. They'd bring me into their house. At the end of every day, even though it was very hard, I would look back on the day and go, yeah, I am right where I am supposed to be, and I have everything that I need. If, like I said, I had a little basket on the front of my bike, and I have like cold food like peanut butter and jelly or sardines and crackers, and that's what I was eating because Raymond bet me $500 that I couldn't make it to California, but he wasn't really willing to give me a lot of money to ride to California. So I wasn't eating out, I wasn't staying in hotels, I wasn't staying in campgrounds even. I'm looking for a free place to stay, and I'm eating peanut butter and jelly. But sometimes that would get a little boring, and then I was talking to God all day, which that alone is amazing. Like, if it's just you alone with God, like, all day, that's... there was no one else there, so all day about everything good, about complaining about the bad, but I remember saying several times, like, Lord, I could really use a hot meal tonight. And that night, I promise you, every time I prayed for it, someone would take me in, or someone would bring me food to where I might be pitched my tent out in front of a church, and one church member comes by and brings me a steak and key lime pie and all the stuff. Anytime that I needed something, all of my needs were met. I had 3 changes of clothes, On the third day, I was always either by a lake or a stream or in someone's house where they'd let me do the laundry. I never used a laundromat. I only had 3 changes of clothes. I never wore them more than once. Never wore them dirty. Also, there were I could give you a lot of examples of this, but another time, I had talked to people who rode cross country, and they all would tell me that you're going to come across people that are riding your same direction, and you'll ride with them for a few days, and you'll get to know them. And this was not happening to me. I had been riding for weeks, and I was not running. I sometimes would pass somebody going the other way, and I'd be like, hi. They didn't even want to talk to me. So, anyways, I was on my way out of North Dakota, and I had been riding I think 3 weeks, and I was like, Lord, could I please find some people, someone that I could ride with for a while, so I had someone to talk to? And that day, I came across 3 guys and a dog. And those of you who know me pretty well know that I'm a dog lady. They had a dog in a little trailer behind them, and we rode together for 3 or 4 days, and the dog slept in my tent, and I had people to talk to, and it was good until they were getting on my nerves. And then that day that I had decided they were getting on my nerves, they were like, well, we're going this way. And I'm like, well, I have to go. This is the way, I'm planning on going to walk, we were going a different way. So I'm still in touch with them on Facebook, so I might not share the video. Anyways, also another lesson that God taught me is that only He can make our struggles easier. I put a lot of weight on my husband, Raymond, to take care of, oh, there's a spider, there's something heavy, take care of it. And I'm on this bike ride, and I got a flat tire. I called him. He was not supportive at all. He was like, I told you should have learned to change a tire before you went out. And I'm like, I had to call my brother. I was going over my first mountain pass, and it was a big surprise to me how steep that was, and that I really could not ride my bike. So I'm walking over the mountain pass, and I think, I can't do this. This is too hard. And so I sent him a message saying how hard of a time I was having, and if he had any wonderful words of encouragement to please send me or call me or something like that. And he sent me back a text saying, have a great time, which just pissed me off, okay? It pissed me off a lot. And I stomped the whole rest of the way up that mountain, cussing and just being mad at him. And it was like right before I reached the summit that it hit me that, why did I think that Raymond had magic words? Like the magic words that were going to make this easy. Because it's not easy. It's very, very hard. And I don't know what magic words there are that's going to make you be able to just buzz up the mountain. But Raymond does not have them. And I don't think anybody does. And really, if I was just counting on God to ease my struggle, I probably wouldn't have been all mad and cussing and stomping up the hill. But God is the only one. If we are counting on someone else, whether it be our husband or whoever, to ease our struggles, it's probably not going to work out. Just look to the Lord. God also taught me about unanswered prayers. So now I'm in the mountains. This one day, I have 3 mountain passes to get over to get to the next town. Now, I didn't try to figure out where I was going to spend the night, but I knew I needed to get to the next town so that I could fill up my water bottles. Unless in the mountains I came across some water flowing out of the mountain, which sometimes it would be, but you couldn't really count on that. So I had 3 mountain passes, and that one was very, very hard. So I'm looking at the map, and I'm like, 3 mountain passes, oh my God. Like, I won't be able to make it. On my first one, I'm thinking I won't be able to make it. So I pull into this rest area, pull in like I'm driving a car. I walked into the rest area, And I decided that I'm going to just park it here until someone with a truck or a van comes along going my direction, and I'm going to ask for a ride. And I called my mom and I told her what I was going to do, and she said, "Don't do it. Don't do it. You'll never forgive yourself. You just have to keep riding." I'm like, "You don't understand. You're not doing this. This is very, very hard. I can't ride the bike." I called Raymond. He's such a big help. I called Raymond, told him I'm just waiting until somebody's going my way and they got a truck or a van, and I'm going to ask for a ride to the next town. And he goes, "Yeah, why don't you just ask for a ride all the way to California? You can tell people you almost made it." So again, I was mad at Raymond. And I said, "Whatever, I will walk the whole way if I have to." So I did walk up to the summit of that, and I rode down, and then I made it over another mountain pass without even really realizing that I had went over it. Like, I actually did ride over it. And then I went down, and I'm going up another mountain pass, and I'm just coming over that. And this van drives by me and pulls off the road. And the guy gets out, and he's rummaging around in the back of his van. And the whole way, I figured that God was putting people in my path for some reason or another. And so if somebody was in my path, I would stop and talk to them. Plus, I had been alone a lot. So as I'm going by this guy, I said, "Hi," and he said, "Hi." He says, "Where are you going on the bike?" And I said, "California." And he said, "All the way to California?" And I said, "I came from Michigan." And he says, "Where at in California?" And I said, "San Francisco." And he said, "Oh, it's very dangerous there." He said, "Do you have a gun?" And I said, No, I don't have a gun. I couldn't be trusted with a gun. I'd hurt myself. And he says, "A lot of gangs there, very dangerous. You need a gun." And no. And then he gets in the side of his car, and he's rummaging around, or the side of his van. He's rummaging around, and I think, is he getting a gun for me? And then he says, "Put your bike in there. I'll give you a ride." And I go, "Oh, no." And I'm not afraid of strangers. Like, I'm not afraid to ride with somebody I don't know. But by this time, I knew that I didn't really want to ride. I really did want to ride the bike to California. If that guy would have came when I was at the rest area, I might have taken a ride the whole way because I was so beat down. But God didn't give me what I asked for until I knew that I didn't need it. And then he showed me, like, "Here it is. Do you still want it?" And I said, "No." I said, "I can't." And he tried to convince me because it's very dangerous. And I said, "Oh, I'll be all right." And I was, and he went on. Another lesson I learned is God gives us what we want a lot of times, but it doesn't always look like it. I had found out that a friend of mine lived in Washington, and I was going to be going right through her town, the girl that I went to school with, and I wanted to stop at her house. So, I had this plan that I could try to get there by noon, and I hadn't planned out any days to try to be in a certain place at a certain time, but on this day, I wanted to get there by noon so that I could spend a lot of time with her, because I wasn't willing to spend more than a day because I wanted to get on my way, but I did want to spend as much time as possible. And people had told me about this 3-mile hill that I had to go over to get to the next town. Anyways, on the 3-mile hill, I end up having a complete blowout with I was praying too, I was praying about the wind. It was so windy, and my tire was having problems, and there was this big hill, and I was like, God, please give me a break. God, please, I need a break. And then my tire literally explodes. So it wasn't just like a flat tire, it exploded. And by now I did know how to change a tire, but I didn't have a whole nother outside of the tire. So I was screwed. And I'm like, is this the brake? Is this the brake I was asking you for? I don't think so. So along comes this guy, and he asked me if he could help me, and I said, probably not. Do you have a tire? And he said, well, how about I give you a ride to the next town? And And I said, he's got this little tiny car and it's full of stuff. I go, this bike isn't going to fit in there. And he was a lot smarter than me. He knew more about bikes. He took the front tire right off, which I didn't know was a thing, and he put my bike in his car. And he took me to the next town, and it was a very small town, and they couldn't fix my tire either, but a truck was hauling, like from a car fix-it place, was hauling a car to the next town, which was the town that my friend lived in. And I had no choice. I mean, I had no tire. He took me and dropped me off at the bike shop in Walla Walla, Washington, and I got to my friend's house at noon. But it certainly didn't look like it was going to happen that way, you know, when I was saying, is this the break? Last lesson that not the last lesson that I learned, but the last one I'm going to talk about. After I left my friend's house in Washington, now I'm heading into Oregon, and I had seen on the map that there was these lava caves, and I had never been in a cave, so I wanted to stop at the lava cave. And I had talked to my mom, and I told her what I was doing, and she said, well, you know, so your next state is California, and do you have a map for California? And I said, no, I try to get one for free when I get to the state. And she said, you need to get a map for California. You can't wait and get one for free. And I'm like, I'm going to try to get one for free. And she said that I also needed to make sure I had a place to stay when I got there, like rent a motel room or something. And I said, how can I do that? Like, I don't even know when I'll get there. I don't know how many days it'll take me. Like, how can I reserve a room? And she said, you can't just wing it and stay in a city park or, you know, pitch your tent in somebody's yard in San Francisco. You have to figure this out. And I'm like, yeah, well, I can't. So I'm not going to worry about it. So anyways, that day I ride. I'm trying to get to the lava cave. It's very windy. It's very hot. It's like over 100 degrees, and the wind is always blasting me right in the face, not giving me relief, but making it harder to ride. And so I saw this big sign that cast a big shadow, and I thought, I'm taking a break there in this shade. And I took a break in the shade, and I fell asleep for like 2 hours. And when I woke up, I was really upset that I fell asleep for 2 hours because I was trying to make it to this cave, and then I'm trying to make it to this next place, and I'm trying to get down the road. But so I get on the bike, and I realized I also had drank all my water, which I was kind of mad at myself about. And I ride 1 mile down the road, and I'm at the visitor center, and for Oregon. And I filled up all my water bottles, got some postcards, and I leave there, and I ride 1 more mile. So literally, if I would have just went 2 more miles, I could have made it. I could have got the water and then got to the cave. 1 more mile down the road was the cave. I go to the cave. They have these lanterns that you can rent for $5 so that you can see the things in the cave. But I was too cheap to do that. Or Raymond was too cheap to give me enough money to do that. And I had a little mag light, so I thought I'll just use that. And I couldn't see crap. But I did walk in with a lady who was from Michigan, so I thought that was pretty cool. And we chatted, and I told her about what I was doing. And then we both realized, like, we're not seeing anything. All we can see with the light is right in front of us where we're walking. Like, you could shine it, and you cannot see even the walls. So we decided to turn around and walk out. And when we're walking out, a lady's walking in with a lantern, and she offered that we could walk with her. And that Michigan lady didn't want to, but I did. So we walk in, and I'm telling her all about my bike ride that I'm on. I'm on a bike ride with God and whatever. And when on our way back out, she says to me, well, when you get to California, when you get to San Francisco, where are you going to stay? And I go, I don't know. My mom tells me I need to figure that out, but I haven't. I don't even know what day I'm going to be there. She said, well, when you get there, you have to stay with me. That's where I live. I'm like, oh, well, yeah. So, and then she says, do you have a map for California? And I said, I don't. Come to the car. She says, I'll give you a map. So she gave me a map. And so anyways, I felt like everything was going wrong, like the heat and the wind, and then I fell asleep for 2 hours. But if those things wouldn't have happened, that lady actually, she saw me when I was riding out of the visitor center. They were driving in, and she saw me, and she said, I wondered where you were going on that bike. I'm so glad I met you. So, I mean, God put us there together at the right time to meet each other. So I would have never met her, and I wouldn't have had all that figured out. Those were my lessons. I needed to go on that bike ride so that I could have that time alone with God and get to know him and learn to trust him. And I wish that everyone could have an experience like that, even, not necessarily a bike ride, but the time alone where all you have is God to talk to, and you can learn that he will take care of all of your needs. It might not be easy, but he will take care of everything you need if you just let him, if you just rely on him. So I came back after the bike ride, and within the next year, I started getting involved, doing good things in the community, being the good person that I am now. Me and some friends, we started this thing called the MAM Project, where we held monthly meetings. They were informative, educational meetings about the drug addiction problem in our community. And the MAM Project still exists just on Facebook. We have a page where we share inspirational, educational stuff. So not just for addicts, but if you know someone who needs some help, like look up the MAM Project. It's a good page. I started a teen group called Teens Making a Difference, and I led those kids doing all kinds of great projects in the community for about 10 years. I helped to start the Neighborhood Watch that we have. I'm not in the Neighborhood Watch, but I was one of the people who helped found it. And I just got involved in the community helping people who were either struggling with addiction or people who cared about those people, and just trying to help people, because I knew at that point that God had saved my life so that I could help other people. And so that is what I still try to do. Every night I do a little prayer where I say, God, please help me be of service to you, help me do your good work in this world, show kindness and love to your people, and show me exactly what you'd like me to do and give me the heart's desire to do it. And so he sometimes gives me jobs, and I try to comply even if I don't want to. Examples of that are like this right here. Jan, who introduced me, was actually supposed to speak tonight. And a few months ago, she told me that God had been telling her that it was supposed to be me. And she asked me if I would be willing. And I said, well, if God's telling you, then I guess I better. So here I am. So something like this. There have been people even that have maybe wronged me in my life. When I was younger, that I felt like God was directing me to help them in their time of need. And so, even though I didn't want to, I'm just like, all right, I'll do it. So I'm trying to be compliant. I want to tell you about this boy that I met in Tennessee. My sister is here from Tennessee. I was just down there for spring break, and I was driving her daughter home. I had my grandson and her daughter in the car, and I'm driving her home, and it was dark, and it was starting to mist a little, and there was this guy walking right on the side of the road. There's no shoulder, and he's right there, and I'm like, whoa, there was a guy, he's walking in the dark, he's going to get hit. And I drive the kid home, I hang out there for a little bit, and I leave there, and it's pouring rain. And this kid is now on the side road. He's not on the main road anymore. He's on the side road where I'm coming off of. And so I stop, and I say, because I am a picker-up of strangers and hitchhikers, but I'm like, hey, do you want to ride? And he's like, well, I'm going across the state. And I go, tonight? You're walking there? And he's like, well, I'm trying to get there. And I go, well, I guess you need a ride then. Which is, I was not it was already night. I was not looking forward to driving across the state, but here you are walking in the rain, So I said, get in. So he gets in. And I take my grandson, I'm going to take my grandson and drop him off at my mom's, being semi-responsible, even though I did pick up a stranger with my grandson in the car. So I'm going to drop my grandson off at my mom's, and I call my mom, and she's on like the car speaker phone, and I'm like, Mom, I'm giving this kid a ride, and I'm going to drop Braden off. And she's like, oh, where are you giving him a ride to? And he says where he's going, which is across the state. And she says, is that where you live? And he goes, no, I got a friend there. She goes, well, where do you live? And where are you from? And he says, Michigan. I thought, of course you're from Michigan. Of course you are. And he goes, well, actually, my mom lives there, and I've been trying to get back there for a long time, but anyways, so I drop my grandson off. I assure my grandson and my mom, I'm not going to get murdered. I can take care of myself. And I drive this kid across the state, and I don't really talk to him much on the way. But at some point, because I was thinking in my head, like, he wants to go to Michigan, and you're going there on Friday. And at some point I say to him, you got a drug problem? And he goes, well, I'm not going to lie to you. He said, I did just get out of rehab. I've been off meth for about 2 weeks. I said, of course it was meth. Of course it was. So anyways, I told him I would not be entirely opposed to giving him a ride to Michigan on Friday, but 3 things needed to happen. I needed to talk to his mother, who lives in Michigan, and hear from her that it was okay for me to drop him off. I needed my grandson to be okay with riding with a stranger, and I needed my husband to say it was all right, which I figured that was going to be fine. And he said, well, of course my mom wants me to come. And I said, well, I need to talk to her. Because I'm not driving somebody all the way to Michigan and then they don't have any place to go. So I talked to my husband the next day. He was fine. Whatever. He said he already didn't murder you, so I'm sure you're fine. And my grandson was another story. He was like, no, we're not driving him. We're not driving him. We don't know him. He probably wants to kill us. I said, why didn't he kill us the first night? He said he wasn't prepared. He didn't have the stuff. He's getting his stuff together. I said, he won't kill us. I promise he won't kill us. And then I was praying on it, and I was saying, God, if this is your plan, if you want me to give this kid a ride, because I feel like these things all seem to come together in a way that it feels to me like this is your plan, but if you want me to give this kid a ride, you need to soften Braden's heart, and I need to hear from his mother. And so the days go on, and every day, Braden's very worried about it. I'm not even bringing it up to him, but he's going, I don't think we should give that guy a ride. He is just distressed over it. And I'd say, don't worry. Like, I haven't even heard from his mother yet. So the night before I'm going to leave, I still haven't heard from the mother. I text the kid. I say, doesn't look like it's going to happen. I said, I haven't heard from your mother. And he said, oh, no, I got the address. She wants me to come. I said, but she didn't call me, and I need to talk to her. And so I said, okay, how about this? Give me her number. So he gives me her number, and I call, and no one answers, and I leave a kind of rude message, maybe. Was it kind of rude, Cal? Maybe a little. I was like, your son would like a ride to Michigan, and I told him that I needed to hear from you, but you haven't called me. So anyways, so then I hang up. And then Braden, my grandson, goes, now you're not going to give him a ride? And I said, doesn't look like it. His mom never called me. He goes, you have to give him a ride. I said, you have been arguing with me about this for days. You didn't want me to give this guy a ride. And he says, you have to, Grandma. That's mean. You can't leave him here. He wants to go to his mom. And I thought, well, doesn't really help that Braden said I could give him because the mom didn't call. So I leave there, I stop at the gas station to get gas because I'm leaving early in the morning, so I want to fill up. And I'm pumping gas, and I hear my phone ringing, and I pull it out of my pocket, and I'm butt dialing the mom again. And I'm like, oh. And I go to hang up, and somebody answers, and I'm like, is this Joey's mom's phone? Because it was a guy, and he's like, who's calling? And I said, my name is Ursula, and her son would like a ride to Michigan, but she hasn't called me. And he goes, oh, yeah, she wants him to come. And I'm like, really? Because she hasn't called me. And he goes, can she call you in a couple hours? I said, no, I'm going to pack up and go to bed. Like, I'm leaving early in the morning. And he goes, okay, she's at work. I'll take the phone to her right now. And he did, and she called me, and she wanted him to come. And so God certainly wasn't working in my timing. Like, all those things could have happened the first day that I said, God, if you want me to give the kid a ride, make these things happen. But certainly, by the time it was time to go, everything fell into place, just like I had asked. So I feel like that was another job that God gave me, and I try. I do think that God rewards me for doing the things that he asked me to do, and I get to do some of the things that I want to do. So if you've heard of the Asabo River Canoe Marathon, a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I got it in my mind that I would like to be in it. And you have to have a fancy canoe. You have to have an expensive racing canoe, and you have to train, and you have to have a partner. And anyways, God just let all of those things fall into place for me, and I was able to be in the marathon. And I was in it again last year. I'm going to be in it again this year. I also started doing CrossFit at the gym in Mayo at Bullseye, and I really like it. And I really like to compete. And God has let me go to some competitions where I just placed first place in a competition in Grand Rapids. It was actually a worldwide competition, and I got 10th in the world. I get to go on hiking trips every year. I'm going with my friend Crystal and my friend Angie and Sasha. Anybody else here from it? Oh, Gabby? Yeah. Anyways, we're hiking for a week on the Appalachian Trail. I have a successful business. It is very busy, and if you need your house cleaned, you should call someone else because I'm too busy. But I just started that. Like, I just got the idea at the end of last year at Christmas time. Like, I'm gonna start a cleaning business, and boom, like, it's out of control. I would have never, 15, 20 years ago, I would have never pictured my life like this. I would have never even thought I wanted my life like this. Like, I wouldn't have thought, I'm a farmer also, I wouldn't have thought that I wanted to be farming or be athletic. None of these things. Be nice to strangers. Like, this is not how I envisioned my life. I don't know what I thought it would be, but this is not it. But I like this life. It's good. And I think that God can take whatever messes we have in our lives, and he can use them for good. So all of the chaos that I created when I was younger, now I get to put it to good use. I just added this in while I was sitting at the table. I overheard someone talking a few weeks ago about me, and they didn't know that I could hear them because they were on speakerphone talking to someone else about me, and they said, "Didn't she used to be an addict?" And I don't think that she meant it in a good way, but I thought to myself, yep, I did. Used to be. That's what you said. Didn't she used to be an addict? So you're actually complimenting me because I've outgrown that. That's not who I am anymore. This is who I am now. Let's see. I think the only thing I have left, is if you know or love someone that struggles with addiction and you want my advice, my advice is turn them over to God, which is hard to do, especially if it's a child of yours. So it's a lot easier. My daughter is an addict. It's easier to say to God, take control of my life, than to give your children over, like, because we're supposed to take care of them. And my daughter has been up and down. She's gotten sober, and then she has relapsed, and it has been devastating for me every time she's relapsed. And I remember the last time that I just cried and cried and cried, and I felt like I was mourning her, like almost like she had died. And then I realized that she isn't dead, she's alive. And I could sit here and feel sorry for our situation, or I could just love her. Just love her, just like she is. Just like God loves us, just like we are. We don't have to be perfect. You don't have to get your crap together for God to love you. And my daughter doesn't have to get her crap together for me to love her. I love her just like she is, even if she never changes. Even I want something better for her. But I say just love them and give them to God. Let God handle the hard stuff, because you can't. You can't do anything about it. You can tell them all about what they're doing wrong with their life and what they should do, and guess what? They already know. You're not going to help by telling them. Just love them. Don't give them money, and don't bail them out of jail. My sister is here from Tennessee. My sister got herself in a lot of trouble. Is it okay? Yeah. She got herself in a lot of trouble, and she went to prison. And when she was getting ready to go to prison, my mother, who is pretty tight with her money, she's going to see this video probably. Darn it. She was considering mortgaging her house to get a good lawyer for my sister to keep her from going to prison for a long time, because she didn't want her kids to grow up without her, and she did not want to visit her daughter in prison. And when she told me that, I said, do you want to visit your daughter in prison, or do you want to visit your daughter in the cemetery? Do not hire a lawyer. Hopefully she'll get out of prison what she's supposed to. Like it's supposed to be a lesson. And for my wonderful sister, it was. She got out and she went into like a recovery house. Is that what it would be called? And then she ended up working at the recovery house. And then she climbed the ladder in the recovery house. And then this year, was it just this year? This year, the court that sentenced her to prison offered her a job with their drug court program. And if she wouldn't have went, if my mom would have got the lawyer, she still would have been out there selling drugs. I guess that's not funny, but here she is doing wonderful. Yeah. And I think that's all of my notes. That's all of my notes. The yellow roses on the table symbolize a new beginning. So they are for you all to take. And every day is a new beginning for us. Whatever is going on in our lives that we struggle with, tomorrow's a brand new day. Was it okay? Thank you.
It was you. It was you. You just did. Okay.
Oh, the questions. The questions. Oh, shoot.
Nice try. But
Oh.
you're not done.
Do you already have them?
I don't yet, but
Oh. sweaty.
Yeah, and she's going to answer
On the fly.
this one, and
We'll see how that goes.
I thought this. Should I use this one, Dan, or? Yep. Because is that one I had, or? Yep.
Blue.
Okay. Blue one. Yes. I have trouble with these things, but anyhow. Okay. Okay, it says, what route did you take?
What route did I take? So I left from my house in Curran, and I rode across the northern states to Washington and down the Pacific coast.
It's amazing.
In Montana and Idaho and California and Washington and Oregon. Once you get out there, it's all mountains. I had thought in my mind that once you got over the Rocky Mountains, it was all going to be flat again, but that's not true. It's all crazy over there.
And then and then it says, no one hurt you?
Nope. Like I said, no one ever said no. I asked total strangers every night, can I pitch my tent here? No one ever said no. I never got any problems from anyone. I wasn't really worried. People would ask me, aren't you afraid of the crazy people? And I said, they're not crazy enough to ride their bike to California. They might want to watch out for me. No, I'm not afraid of people. I was a little intimidated by the prospect of wild animals that you can't reason with, but they didn't get me either.
What year did this happen?
2009.
I wondered about this too. Did you fly home?
On my first bike ride, because I took another bike ride the next year, but on that first bike ride, I took a train home because I had never been on a train.
And how did you get back from California? There you go.
The train.
All right. When did God deliver you from addiction, and was it on your bike ride?
So when and I guess I don't know how about like deliver me from, like if I was like free of it, but when I said I got arrested, that I was so mad at some people that I didn't talk to them, so I didn't go hang out with my friends who I was used to using drugs with. But there were two major drug dealers in our area here, and they called me when they got their shipment in because I was a good customer. I had cash. My husband had a good job, and I didn't need any favors. I just would give you the money and you give me the stuff. And they always called me when they got their shipments. And after that day, no one ever called me. No one ever has called me since to offer me drugs. So if that's what that means, I don't know if that's what that means.
I don't know who.
I don't know if
there's anything else.
Like, when did God deliver me? If that means like, when did I had been asking for it. I think God put some things in play that it happened.
See, there's not a moment where you can remember and say.
Yeah, I can't say like June 4th, 2008. No, I don't have that.
Okay, that's okay.
Sorry.
That's good. Well, because it was a process.
It was definitely a process.
Just like when we're converted, right? Sometimes it's a process, and sometimes it's a bang. So yeah, that's good. Okay. What does MAM stand for?
So, MAM stands for Many Against Meth, and when we started the MAM project, that's what it was about. It was about a bunch of us coming together to fight the meth problem in our area. And right away when we started it, we realized that that was not the only problem. So it started to be about drug and alcohol abuse and addiction in general. So the letters MAM are Many Against Meth, but it's really just a support for anyone struggling with, or anyone who loves someone struggling with drug or alcohol addiction.
I always thought it was Moms Against Meth. Okay. Are there any local recovery plans, rehabs? Oh, that was one of the...
So we don't have any rehabs in our area. Is there anything about support groups over on the table?
There are. There's
So there are support groups in our area, and so there's information over
information
there.
at the resources. Okay. Would you do it again?
You
I
bet.
yeah.
The bike ride?
Yeah, I
You
take it
bet.
that's the bike ride, right?
You bet I would, and I hope to do another one. So I did that bike ride, and then while I was doing the bike ride, I thought, I should have been riding for a good cause. And so the next year, I did ride for a good cause. I rode from Alpena to New Orleans and over to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I rode for a good cause called Green Planet Films. And so now I've rode across the northern states and down the Pacific coast, and I've rode south and west, and so I really just need to do the East Coast. So that is something that I'm really dying to do, is ride the East Coast, hopefully, in the next couple of years.
And knowing you, you will do that.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope so. I feel like I can say that now, like I hope so, like without making a fool of myself.
Do you still continue your conversations with the Lord?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I would like is more time, like still silent time, where it was just me and God, because life is busy, and I feel like a lot of my friends might be better at this than me, making that time. But those bike rides or hiking trips, like time alone that's my best time to really be able to connect and know that He's taking care of me.
Did the bike ride heal you? I think you've answered that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, my life is definitely different.
What's some advice to someone who doesn't have it all together or have it all figured out?
None of us do. I would just say, just like I did, just keep laying it on God, and He'll take you there. If that's what you want, you just keep asking Him. Even if you don't know what to do, He'll take you there. It might not be pretty.
And it might not be the way you wanted to go.
It might not be the way you want it to go, but in the end, you'll look back and go, yeah, this is right.
Yep, absolutely. At what point did you give up all the drugs, during or before the ride, before you ride? And I think you've answered.
Well, I haven't answered that. So I quit using hard drugs before the ride. I still smoked marijuana, and I still drank. And at that point in my life, I didn't see any problem with it because, well, alcohol is legal. So it's really not a problem, right? After I came back and I started the MAM project, the MAM project had only been going like a month or two, and we were making all of this big noise about addictions, and there were people talking about, well, Ursula shouldn't be doing that. She drinks. And I thought, mind your business, it's legal. So a couple months into the MAM project, I give this girl a ride to a homeless shelter up in Grayling, and on my way back, it's late at night, and I stopped at the Mayo Saloon. There were no cars there. My friend was bartending, and I had some drinks. And since I knew that it was late at night and I didn't have much time to have drinks, I had really, really strong drinks. So picture a Black Russian, if you know what that is. It's just alcohol, a couple kinds of alcohol in it. Normally in a rock glass, right, Dee Dee? Black Russian? But I would like it in a tumbler, okay? And I like to drink a couple of those in a row. And in the matter of like 2 hours, I drank like $300 worth of liquor. I was just stopping for a drink. I drank $300 worth of liquor. I gave a guy a ride home. He's lucky that he made it. Your dad. Got in a fight with him at his house because he's a smart aleck. Drove home. Don't remember that. The next day, the next 3 days, I was sick. I was very, very sick. I probably had given myself alcohol poisoning. And I thought, man, like I don't remember driving home. If I would have gotten in an accident, if I would have killed somebody, everything that I'm doing, that I'm trying to do for the good, would have looked like a joke. It would have looked like a joke, like this would have been wasted. Besides that, I had also been told by a doctor that my liver was bad months before that, and I just thought, what are you trying to kill yourself? And so that was the day. That was the day. I don't know what day that was, but I know that it was before my birthday. No, it was after my birthday, but before Christmas. So my birthday's in November, and it was Christmas, and so then it would have been in 2010. 2010 in the winter. I gave up alcohol, but I still smoked pot. So I'm going to say that I really don't, pot doesn't kill people. Some people can use it medically. I'm not going to say a whole lot of bad about it, but I did kind of do it on the down low because I'm doing all these like support groups, having these man project meetings. I'm trying to like speak out about addiction, so I didn't really want people to know that I smoked pot because that might be frowned upon. So when probably wasn't looking for all of this honesty. So I would smoke a little pot at home. My daughter had gotten sober for a while. After she got her son taken away from her by CPS when he was a baby, and then he came to live with me, and then she came to live with me, and she got sober for a while, for like over a year. She was doing great, going to college, doing great, 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 and I was so happy. And no, it was before that. I'm sorry. It was when she got him taken away. I had been praying for her recovery, and I had been I had fasted in prayer. I had done all of the things I could think of to try to get God to fix her. Anyways, when she had relapsed, I was laying there in bed, reading my Bible, crying, praying, smoking a little pot, trying to calm down. And I have not heard God speak words to me. I know other people have, but only this one time did I hear God speak words to me. And I know that it was God. I know it was in my head and it wasn't my voice. And it said, you would give up food for your daughter. Would you give up that? And right away I said, yes, I would do anything for her. And then it was back and it said, would you really? And I said, yes, I would do anything for her. And it was back again and it said, would you forever? And I took a minute because forever is a long time. And like if I said to you, you have to give up something that you really, really enjoy, I don't know what that would be. And forever, you might have a hard time with it. And so I took a couple of minutes, and then I said, yes, I would really do anything for her. And I put it down, and that was the end of that. I have thought, I'll just add a little bit more, sorry. I have thought through the years, because like I said, my daughter has been sober, and then she's relapsed, and got sober, and relapsed. So there's been times when she's been sober that I thought, she's good now. maybe I could. And then I think, no, you know what? God's taking care of her. So I feel like I sacrificed something, something that I enjoyed. I gave a sacrifice of it for her. And then there have been times where I've just been like she's not any better. She still struggles with this addiction, and I still don't smoke pot. So maybe I'm wasting my time here. And then I go, nope, because she's alive. She's alive no matter what kind of dangerous situation she's put herself in. She's alive because God's taking care of her. And so, there you go.
Another question is, how is this helping you with addiction? That same thing, when you gave up the drugs.
How is it helping me with addiction?
So I'm not quite sure.
I'm not sure what that means, but what it makes me think of is that, I realize that I have a lot more addictions than drugs and alcohol. Sugar is a super big problem for me. I don't know anybody who has as much of a problem with sugar as I do. And I have just found that I can't have it at all. I can't have it in moderation, okay? Most people can have certain things in moderation. A lot of people can have alcohol in moderation. I can't have alcohol in moderation. I will have too much. I can't have sugar in moderation. You give me a little, I am going to eat all of it. I will lose 50 pounds in a year, and then I will gain it all back in the last month of the year because it's the holidays and I can't stop. So I guess how this helps me with addiction is just that I realize that the things that I'm addicted to, I cannot have a little of them because I don't have the self-control. Is there something else?
Yep, I like this one. Did you collect $500 from your hubby after you returned home from Cali?
I called him when I was getting ready to cross into California because he bet me that I couldn't make it to California. And I knew I would be crossing into California that day, and I said, I will be making my way into California today, so you can go ahead and put that $500 in my account. And he said, you haven't made it to San Francisco yet. And I said, you didn't bet me I couldn't make it to San Francisco. I'm spending that money in San Francisco. Put that in my account. So he did. He paid.
And the last one is a comment. Thank you for sharing so freely.
You're welcome. Now I'm good.
Now you're good. Unless there are other questions. So, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that God told me that you are the one that is supposed to speak tonight.
Just because you didn't want to?
No, I'm doing. I
I'm
will
kidding.
in October. But you were the one who was supposed to speak tonight, and we know why. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Okay, just going to do a couple little housekeeping things here. By the way, I meant to say this earlier. The name of her business is Rose's Cleaning, and while she says she's very busy.
Oh, I sell beef. Tell them that.
Oh, and but I wasn't going to tell him that because I get my beef. I don't want too many people wanting beef. Her beef is amazing. No, I was going to tell you. Because the other thing, I kind of messed up on my notes. But the one thing that I said, she's a farmer, and she's a very good farmer. She has really good beef and chicken. So just saying. But what is amazing is that she's got her cleaning business. She's a farmer. She's taking care of her grandson. She's doing, and then she's going on the AT and doing this, and then now she wants to go out east, and just amazing. So thank you. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is prayer for anyone that would like prayer. There's going to be two teams kind of on either side. And then we're going to do the food is out. And so we've got a fellowship time. But first we're going to do a worship song. And just want to let you know there is a little thing on your tables about the next event, which is a mug and muffin that's going to be in September. And then starting in September, we're going to go monthly and try to do this every month. So that would be great. And any feedback or anything, give us on your cards, and I think we're ready to go. So, all right.
Thank you. And yes, when you are ready to go home tonight, remember, one of those yellow roses is specially for you, along with the bookmark, along with the save the date, any resources over there. So yes, let's go ahead and stand for worship, and let's have our ministry teams
this is
come
off.
on forward.
Is this off? Is this off? Can you turn this off?
You might have to walk back to him and let him turn it on.
There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. To break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. To break every chain, to break every chain, to break every chain. To break every chain, break every chain, break every chain.
Feel free to come up. Think of any chains you need broken off, whether it's sugar, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, you need to stand and intercess for them.